Yo! Hello and welcome everyone. In today's discussion, we will be talking about the Straw Hat musician, Brook's ability, personality, backstory, and relationship with the crew. Now, Brook debuted in the Thriller Bark arc as someone who was victimized and who had his shadow taken from him or stolen from him by the former warlord Gecko Moria, and since anyone who had their shadow taken by Moria dies when exposed to sunlight, he was stuck in a place where there's heavy fog and with a ship filled with the skeleton of his dead crewmates. More on that later in the video. The place is called Florian Triangle. Additionally, if you do enjoy my content, I do lots of Pokemon, anime, and gaming related content, so please feel free to check out my content. If you like this video in general, please do leave a like and subscribe, as your support is tremendously appreciated. Now, without further ado, let's start, shall we? 8. The Yomi Yomi no Mi, which gave him the ability to revive once he was dead. One of the very few devil fruit that needs a crucial prerequisite to activate as well. After that, he was able to immune to soul targeting attacks by Big Mom, and was the perfect counter to Big Mom's armies, the homies, which are the animals and inanimate objects animated by human souls, using Big Mom's ability or using the souls Big Mom has collected over the years. Brook is an excellent fencing type of swordsmanship, and after 2 years, after a 2-year time skip, was able to use the ice of the underworld to attack, called So Solid, and of course, the skill that he has prevalently have that Luffy wanted in the first place is his skill as a musician. He can also use his music in combat. Ni Moriata Flank is where he strums his violin using his sword Shiko Mizue in place of a violin bow, creating a soothing tune that makes anyone who hears it immediately fall asleep. This is a very underrated technique, by the way. Imagine if this technique was used during the Big Mom or the Whole Cake Island arc. All of the foot soldier, or the all of the foot soldier of Big Mom was automatically falling asleep. And even in Onigashima, if they use that in conjunction with Chopper's devil fruit, or Chopper's medical fruit, those ice oni would have been rendered useless as well. Not all in Onigashima and Whole Cake Island have Conqueror Saki to resist this technique. So a good portion of the Big Mom pirates and a good portion of the Beast pirates in Onigashima would have fallen victim to this technique. Just saying, this is a very underutilized technique. But again, I digress on that. Let's talk more about the Yomi Yomi fruit, the Yomi Yomi no Mi fruit, because this is something is actually essentially useless when you're alive. It's only very useful because you died once, and you can have you unlock a plethora of abilities once you died. So it was even revealed that he gains no abilities whatsoever when he was alive, but he gets all of the weaknesses of the devil fruit, like not being able to swim. So it's kind of a double-edged sword kind of devil fruit. Yeah, sure, it's a powerful, in Brook's hand, it's a powerful devil fruit, but it also is useless if you're alive. You need to die once at least. So that's just my gripes on the Yomi Yomi no Mi. So without further ado, let's proceed to the next part. Brook is an eccentric character with a distinct personality just like any other strats. While he looks gentlemanly and consider himself as one, he also got some vulgar traits, most prominently his fascination with young ladies' undergarments. He also yells out for food, a trait shared with Leafy, and occasionally farts and burps, which is just inappropriate to do in public. Despite these behaviors, he still remains very polite, formal, and soft-spoken, usually referring to people using respectful honorifics such as son or sir, and always speaks to everyone, even enemy, in a courteous manner. Despite his eccentric behaviors, Brook is an extremely upright and compassionate person, befitting that of a true gentleman, as Brook utterly disdained wickedness and cruelty. Brook, 90 years ago, before he joins the Rumbar Pirates, was a leader of a battle convoy of a certain kingdom, where he learns fencing and many of his attacks. I don't know if Oda plans to expand Brook's background in the future arc. The fact of the matter is, Oda did not name drop that kingdom's name. Hopefully so. We do need more Brook moments after all. But I digress. 52 years ago, Brook was a part of York's pirate crew, the Rumbar Pirates, as one of the many musicians that comprised the crew. One day, while he and the rest of the crew was still in the West Blue, their ship was followed by a baby whale, which they later named Laboon. Laboon was captivated by their beautiful music, and later befriended the crew, and Laboon grew especially close to Brook, and the time comes that they have to leave West Blue to go to the Grand Line, knowing how treacherous the Grand Line. They try to find Laboon a new home, explain that they can't take Laboon. They explain to him, because Laboon is relatively smart for a whale, right? They explain to him they can't take Laboon and even attempt to lose him by just ignoring Laboon. But Laboon kept following. Even on the Grand Line, they stayed on the Twin Capes for 3 months to get some supplies and get some repairs done to their ship. And this they explained that they couldn't take Laboon with them, knowing how dangerous it was in the Grand Line. The lighthouse keeper named Crocus promised to watch over Laboon, and in turn the Rumbar Pirates promised to circle back to Laboon and meet up with them. That promise is due, by the way. That promise is due. As Brook and the rest of the Rumbar Pirates traveled across the Grand Line, they experienced countless challenges the sea had to offer. Despite the difficulties, they simply sang happily while continuing to sail along. However, disaster struck when they were traversing through a forest. Some of the crewmates, including Captain Yorkie, contracted a fatal, incurable, and highly contagious disease. To keep the disease from spreading, Captain Yorkie took the infected members with him to the calm belt, a place where there's no winds, no tides, it's just dead silent, and where all of the Sea Kings live. Yorkie told Brook and the remaining Rumbar Pirates that was unaffected, and how he regretted it, as it was the only way to save the uninfected crew members. And he also regretted not being able to meet Laboon again. Yorkie asked the crew to give his best regards to the whale. As Yorkie lay on his deathbed, Brook sang his favorite song, Bank Sake. After losing half their members, Brook took up Yorkie's mantle, became the new captain of the Rumbar Pirates. Together, they took a new ship, and Brook later received a bounty of his own, his very own bounty. When they were passing through the Florian Triangle, the Rumbar Pirates was attacked by enemies that used poison-tipped arrow. Brook and some of his crewmates barely survived the assault. However, they were all poisoned by their attack and won't last any longer. And knowing that, they recorded one last music, the Bank Sake song on a tone dial, knowing that what if Brook does come back alive. They wanted Brook to be the messenger to take this gift to Laboon. They recorded it using the tone dial they had bought from a Sky Island in the hopes that if Brook's devil fruit really did bring him back to life, he can deliver the tone dial to Laboon. Brook was survived by his devil fruit, but he found it difficult to locate his body due to the heavy fog in the Florian Triangle. By then, his body turned. By then, when he found his body, it was turned into a skeleton. It decayed already. Then, added the fact that he was abducted by the former warlord Gecko Moria and to steal his shadow, knowing that without his shadow he could die when exposed to sunlight. Thankfully, the dense fog protected him from the sun all along. In his ship was accompanied by his dead crewmates. Oh my god, this is just sad. And equipped with nothing but the tone dial, the recording of the Rumbar Pirates' final song, meant as a message to their friend Laboon, ironically helped Brook stay sane despite all of the loneliness and trauma he experienced. And then he met with Luffy in the Straw Hats and was saved by Luffy. And they start discovering that they recently encountered Laboon, and Laboon is still waiting for them. It reignites Brook's pirate's pride to circle around the world and meet up with Laboon again. And without any hesitation, Brook accepted Luffy's invitation to the crew. Now, Brook's relationship to the crew is initially, the Strats was initially warrior of Brook. I mean, he's a talking, breathing skeleton. Of course, they're gonna be afraid. But eventually, as time goes on during the Thriller Bark arc, they eventually warmed up to him. Like, for example, Luffy, the one who initially who started warming up to Brook first, invited him to the crew, and he wanted to save him. He saved his crew, and he is thankful for Brook, or for Luffy for saving him. Brook is thankful for Luffy for saving him, and reigniting his passion to circle around the world. That, hey, and Luffy was like, hey, we just met with Laboon a couple months back, so why not travel with us to circle around the Grand Line? So that's the whole Luffy-Brook kind of relationship, how he indoctrinated Brook, because they're gonna eventually circle around the Grand Line to meet Laboon anyway, so why not just join them? Right. So, second would be Zoro. I think Zoro and Brook, the kind of relationship they have, since both of them are like the swordsmen of the crew, they have mutual respect as fellow warriors of the swords, or fighters of the swords. They essentially have mutual respect as fellow swordsmen, And like there's the one thing that sticks out with me for the relationship is during Thriller Bark arc, like you have been nothing happens scene, right? And like Brook is laying his sword after that entire thing has passed. Brook is laying his sword to that. I think that was what's that called? What that sword called? The black cloak sword. I'm not sure what it's called, but he's laying his dead sword that was taken from him, was destroyed by a random marine in Anislavi, by the way. Oh my goodness. I think Yubashiri. Yubashiri was the sword. He was laying that on the grave of Brook's former crew. So that little scene kind of warmed my heart right there, because Brook, seeing what Zoro did for his crewmate, kind of already have a respect for Zoro, and then telling Zoro that, hey, I joined the crew, by the way. And Zoro would be like, this crew can be a really handful. So thank you for joining us, bro. Like that entire scene just warmed my heart for some reason. I love that scene by Brook. It touched my heart. Just saying. That was a very touching scene for Brook and Zoro. Next up would be Nami. The third one, because this is gonna be Nami and Robin consecutively, because the weirdness of Brook when he is asking for their panties, to see their panties, like, oh my goodness. Always a comedic effect with the Nami slapping Brook in the face. Am I right? But eventually, they did warm up to him. The music, his music skills is just off the roof, and Nami does have respect for that, and his combat capability as well. But just the annoying, constantly wanting to see her panties is just getting to Nami. Next up is Robin. Okay, Robin. Because this is a filler arc, but I really love that moment where they were talking it was an episode after Thriller Bark arc. They were talking on the top of the ship. Brook is all confused. What could he contribute to the crew? But Robin put his mind at ease, where he was in the same predicament, where she also thought, what can she contribute to the crew? Why did she insist on joining the crew? Like, she was in the same predicament, and then she just tell Brook, hey, just be yourself, bro. Just be yourself, and everything will fall into place. You can find what you can contribute later on the line, and Luffy will be right there with you. And then at the end of the episode, Brook sing his song. His kills in the crew is what Luffy made him want to join him, you know? So, yes. That's the whole entire filler episode. It was a filler, but it was a well-deserved filler. That was one of my favorite filler episodes of all time. That one filler episode in between Sabaody arc, or the Duval arc, and the Thriller Bark arc. That was one of my favorite filler episodes. So yeah, that's a little bit of a side note with Nico, Robin, and Robin. There's also Frankie. Oh no, not Frankie. Not Frankie. It's Chopper, right? Chopper being the doctor, and I think I haven't really seen anything that highlights with Chopper and Brook's relationship, aside from the fact that initially Chopper was one of the people who was terrified of a living talking skeleton, and eventually warmed up to Brook as well. And there's also the fact that out of all the crew member, Brook is probably the one unaffected by Chopper's medical skills. Just saying, he's a skeleton. What can Chopper do to a skeleton? Just saying. Okay. Next up would be Sanji. This is not my order. Sanji, I mean, they're fellow perverts. Eventually, the funniest moment between the two of them is like them getting upset to Momonosuke for hugging both Nico, Robin, and Nami Otto himself. Like, they're fellow perverts, right? Like, they equally both upsets Nami. No, not upsets Nami. Annoyed Nami. The perversion. And then there's Frankie as well. Frankie, I feel like he's one of the people. Brook's one of the boys that is actually amazed by the fact that Frankie has this incredible invention in the Sunny, incredible invention with the General Frankie, a lot of this cool gadgets. So that's just another thing for Brook and Frankie's relationship. I think Jinbei, everyone kind of respect and grateful for Jinbei's saving Luffy during the war on Marineford. So not really much to highlight in Jinbei's relationship, really. Did I forget anything? I think that's everything, right? The top contender for me is Zoro and Brook, Luffy and Brook, and Luffy and Nami, and then Luffy and Brook, Zoro and Brook, Robin and Brook, and Nami and Brook. Those are mostly the one that highlighted his relationship and character dynamic with the crew, really. As a matter of fact, that's probably it for this discussion.